I've done a lot of scary things for this channel. I've stayed in allegedly haunted hotels. I've investigated paranormal hotspots. And I even spent a night alone in an abandoned insane asylum. But there was one place that I never thought I would go. And that is a battlefield. You see, I have a rule that I don't go into the woods at night, let alone stay overnight. But when it comes to scary places, I like to push myself just a little bit outside of my comfort zone. So when the opportunity came up to spend a night on the most haunted battlefield in America, well, I couldn't say no. So join me if you dare to hear the story of the most haunted battlefield in America. And be sure to stick around to the end, because I'll share the story of one of the most tragic deaths that happened right here. It all began in July of 1863, when Confederate General Robert E. Lee and his Army of Northern Virginia invaded the northernmost point of the Confederacy, the small town of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. 3 days of fighting ensued, which resulted in over 50,000 casualties. But by the third day, the Confederate Army was losing. So Lee made the decision to retreat south back to Virginia. And with that, the Battle of Gettysburg came to an end. But what happened next shocked the nation. For the next 4 years, the men who fought and died here were never recovered. It was too expensive, and there were too many bodies. So they were left right where they fell. It is estimated that somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 men are still buried here in the Gettysburg National Cemetery. And it's believed that some of them may not have even been identified. After the war ended, people started coming to the cemetery to pay their respects to the fallen soldiers. But some visitors reported seeing the ghosts of the dead soldiers walking through the cemetery at night. Over time, more and more stories came out about strange experiences in Gettysburg. People reported seeing ghostly apparitions, hearing cannon fire, and seeing phantom flames. Some even reported feeling a sudden drop in temperature or hearing disembodied voices. That's why it's known as the most haunted battlefield in America. Today, the town of Gettysburg is a popular tourist destination, and every year people come to the town to take part in ghost tours and paranormal investigations. And while most of the activity is centered around the cemetery, it's believed that the entire town is saturated with spirits. The historic Dobbin House Tavern is said to be one of the most haunted places in town. Back in 1862, a young woman named Helen Viola died after drinking contaminated water. Now people report hearing her footsteps walking back and forth on the second floor and shaking the beds of guests staying in the inn. But the ghost story that has stuck with me the most happened right here in the middle of the battlefield. During the tour, our guide told us the story of a young private who was killed during the battle. His name was Thomas. He was only 19 years old. And as our guide was telling his story, we walked over to a large boulder. And our guide told us that this was Thomas's favorite rock. Apparently, Thomas liked to sit on this rock and carve his initials into it. But now his spirit is forever bound to it. And if you listen closely, I swear you can still hear him carving his initials into the rock. Every year, thousands of visitors come to Gettysburg to experience the supernatural for themselves. And while most of them don't believe in ghosts, they leave with a story that they will never forget. If you ever visit, be sure to bring a camera and some flashlights. And if you want to learn more about the history of Gettysburg, be sure to visit the museum. It's full of artifacts from the battle, including personal items from President Abraham Lincoln. Now, I didn't mention this at the beginning of the video, but I'm going to tell you something that really freaked me out. While I was filming this video, I felt a cold spot, and I heard what sounded like whispers. Now, normally I would just brush it off and say it was probably just the wind. But then I turned around and saw this rock monolith. And when I looked closer, I realized that there were initials carved into it. And those initials were TPS. When I looked back at the rock monolith, I noticed something else. Someone had recently carved the number 19 into the rock monolith. And that gave me goosebumps, because remember Private Thomas? Well, he would carve his initials and the year he enlisted, which was 1861. But someone had recently come along and carved at the number 19. Now, I'm no ghost expert, but that sure as hell freaked me out. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please subscribe, because there's plenty more where that came from. Thanks for watching.